So after this little tour thing, I'm gonna talk about my experience in there. So hopefully you enjoy it and
I don't know how to play guitar.
I recommend definitely going there. It's a place that even if you're not big into like rock music, it's kind of like a musical journey on how rock and roll was somewhat shaped. You know what I mean? They go way back, early 19 or 2000s, whatever they are, the 1940s, early on. But it started, you know, it has soul music in there. A lot of people you'll see in this video, but it's all kinds of stuff. And rock music and a lot of genres are shaped by multiple different ones. It's very interesting. They obviously have a lot of what you guys saw in the video. They have a lot of like little trinkets in there that just outfits they wore, pinball machines in there and stuff. And it's super interesting because you read about these things and you realize that this was like, it's a piece of them. And it's just, it helps you kind of put the pieces together of where that music came from. That song, where the state of what that musician was in at the time. I know for me, my favorite part of that whole entire building, which is a cool building obviously too, it's that pyramid shaped thing. They had the ribbon cutting ceremony and I think it was like 95. Yoko Ono was part of that. Amongst other people, they had a big old huge concert and all kinds of stuff to kind of open it up. But the building's 7 floors. The first one is obviously the biggest. That's got like the most foundation that it can lay stuff out on, but it's got all kinds of floors. So the higher you go up, it's got smaller sections obviously, but it just, you keep going up and up and up and there's more things to discover. And also it's like right on the shore of Lake Erie. So Lake Erie, if you haven't been to one of the Great Lakes, it's like, looks like an ocean. It's a genuine like lake, but you can't see the end of it. So it's pretty neat. It's just right there on the waterfront and you can just walk right behind it and you're right there. And you got the big cityscape right next to it. But my favorite part of the whole thing was the lyrics. There's a lot of handwritten lyrics, and these are like legit songs that are widely known through people that might not even been into rock music. You just know these kind of songs. But the handwritten original paper that was written by the artist, a lot of them had a lot of chicken scratch and doodles on it. And I know for me, when I was in school, I used to doodle all over my papers. I'm not like a songwriter, but for me, it's like I would, instead of listening or focusing on something else, I'd be sitting there doodling. Next thing I know, some important piece of paperwork has all kinds of little drawings and stick figures on it and little swirls and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And you see that on these artists, like actual legit songs. That was like the most interesting thing to me, is just seeing them, because they have a lot of them around. They have a lot, Bob Marley, they have Beatles, things like that. You'll see these little sheets of paper everywhere. That day was it was a really nice day to be there. Everything just came together and it was just a really, really good experience. It's about a 2-hour drive from my house. But if you ever are in the state of Ohio, if you're not milking cows or whatever here, I definitely highly recommend going up there. I generally assume that most INFPs are into a musical type thing. I know I am. It's a big part of my life. Like, I've made videos on it and things like that. It's just a piece of music history. And it takes you back. It puts you in this zone. You see all the stuff, the criticism part. There's early on where it starts you off early, and as you walk through these hallways, it just has different eras of places it takes you. In the early beginning, you have all these politicians and things like that just blasting rock and roll as the devil and all kinds of stuff that they do with everything. They still do it to this day, but yeah, rock and roll was trying to get suppressed and things like that. And just the people that actually stood up and just put their foot down and just went with their vision and just, made art, it pushed that wall for many people. Again, if they didn't do it and they just sat down because of these people that are criticizing them and things like that, then we would have never been graced with any of this stuff. And we wouldn't be listening to this stuff to this day. And it's really cool to me, to where I just see people that just face adversity and just went forward for the benefit of the world, and add those colorful pieces to our lives. To be able to see little parts, inside of where all that developed from in one building is just, to me, it was super cool. Great experience, highly recommend it. I guess that's all for the video. I appreciate you watching and putting up with all my my craziness here. So I would have came up with like a rock name for myself, but that's kind of cheesy. Yeah, rock on. All right, guys, see you later.